Hello, folks. Dante and Eric, back at it again.
That is not
Oh,
the intro I told you to use.
I mean, you know what? That's they should know who we are by now, right? I
I
mean, I
guess
feel
so.
like
We're back commentating some Flesh and Blood gameplay. Woo!
there we go. That's the commentating people need to hear.
We need some excitement here, man. And what an
That's fair.
exciting game we have! It is a Mike versus Dom kind of game. Dom's on Ira, something that he's recently been taking up. He usually plays Wizard, and Mike's on
Mhm.
his tried and true Dorinthia, just the
Right.
staple that we all know and love.
Fair enough. We're just loading into the game now. Um, believe it would be okay. So there we go. We do have the Iron Dorinthia matchup. Pretty interesting matchup. I know Dante, you've seen this matchup a whole lot in
Oh
your career here from the Ira side. I've seen it a bit from the Dorinthia side. So just really quickly, what's Ira trying to do?
Basically, you're trying to just put on more pressure than Dorinthia. Ideally, you want to get rid of their armor as fast as possible. Based on the
Mhm.
fact that he's playing Snatch, I would assume that he's playing a very aggro Ira deck. Although I do
Yeah.
see a Reinforce the Line, so maybe I'm just lying about that one. I don't know, but
Well, yeah. I do see.
it's tough to say. I would assume that it's probably geared more towards aggro. He's also running the
Right.
needle. In
Right.
that case, yeah, you're basically just trying to be more aggressive than Dorinthia. So
Fair
Dom's
enough.
going to try and keep as many cards in hand as he can to be able to swing back with a huge turn. But he had a very defensive turn here. Reinforce the line and a flick flack, which is a pretty good amount of blocking.
Yeah.
Only
Good old.
taking two from a double buffed sword, which is
Quite
kind of
strong.
nuts. I would think that
Yeah.
he would be taking more. So
No, for sure. We did see like a red overpower coming out of Mike. Two very good players, very highly ranked. I think 2 and 3 probably in Canada right now. So these players definitely know the ins and outs of these matchups. But we do see Dom probably winning the role and choosing second as both of these heroes definitely want to go second in this matchup. So we're
no,
just
for
gonna
sure.
see Dom chipping away at the weapons. We're gonna see. I don't think Mike's running any D reacts in this particular build. I don't think he likes running D reacts.
I don't think
Period.
so either. Mike and I have talked about his deck extensively, and we've pretty much, we've pretty much removed every D react from that deck.
Right.
If it's not gas, it's not in basically. So Mike's going with the early armor block, which I don't know about that one. I always might prefer to just take the damage and go lower on life. When you're lower on life than the Ira, you are turning off the Scar for Scars and things like that
Right.
that allow them to be so aggressive. But Mike
Right.
is just committing to all the armor turn one.
Looks
That
like
is that seems to be the NA strat is what I would call that.
block with armor turn one. He's
Yeah,
blocking with
block with the
courage and
entire
bracers.
fridge turn one. But that's
Right.
exactly what Dom wants. To be fair,
Right. Yeah.
the faster you get rid of that armor, the more aggressive that you can be. Essentially,
He
um,
got he got all the armor. Well, 1 point on all the armor, and he's actually still at higher life. So honestly, Mike's got to have he's got a 4 card hand. I don't know what you keep as a 4 card hand and like
yeah,
still take all of that armor into the
it's not a
face.
5 card hand. It's pretty weak too because you're pitching a blue to play a, a hit and run and sword swing. So it's
Sure.
really just a block for 3 here, block for 6 probably because Mike's just going to buff it.
Right.
If Mike has a double buff, then that would be ideal. But I'm
Sure.
guessing that Mike's just not even going to commit to that. He's just going to Arsenal and pass here, unless he
Yeah.
has
Isn't
something crazy in hand. Because I can't imagine that he's going to be. Oh, he has a route.
No,
Okay, well, that
he's
makes
got a
sense.
route. Okay, so he's gonna send the flying kick back. That does make sense. Taking all that armor hit, I'd be like, well, if I'm Dom, I'll take 3 pass. We're almost at even. You have only
Yeah,
1 point on most of
exactly.
your armor left. I'm doing pretty good as Ira. We do have a flick flack coming in to block the route, the extra route damage though.
Yeah, and that'll pretty much shut down Mike's turn. He does get something in
Mm,
his arsenal, but again, Dom's
right.
looking, pretty good here because all of Mike's armor is gone at this point. Effectively, he
Yeah.
has what 3 more block from his armor that he can get. So
Right.
he's just pitching Torn of Tempo for 5. So it looks like he didn't have a blue in his hand,
Hmm.
or at least not a blue that he wanted to pitch. I'm guessing that the card that's left in his hand is probably a defense reaction or one of his
Or a red card, I guess.
yeah, reinforce the line maybe.
Right.
Better to pitch just to play a torrent, get hopefully some cards out of Mike's hand. If I'm Mike here, I'm not blocking that though, because like, what's the follow up going to be from Dom? You know what I mean?
True. Yeah.
Art would get go again, but it doesn't really matter, and that's exactly what Mike does. Dom's just going to arsenal this last card, I would assume.
Probably.
Unless
Yeah, I
it's
would
like
say
a Soul Bead Strike or something like
yeah,
that, or he's going
like
to
a red
pitch it
soul
and
bead.
needle for
Yeah.
3, which I don't know. If you were holding on to the card, I'm guessing that it's going to be an arsenal pass.
Sure. And this
I think
time,
he's thinking about it right now, so it's probably not a reinforce the line at that point.
probably not. No, but Mike has that 5-card hand, and Dom is sitting there, be like, this might be bad. Like this might be a world of hurt. Unfortunately, reinforce the line is actually quite bad out of the arsenal, just because the whole point of the card is it gets around things like dominate. And so having it in your hand is a whole lot better because it has no extra benefit from coming out of the arsenal. And what you could do is play like a D-React out of arsenal, a card from hand, and reinforce the line. Ooh, there we go.
Oh,
Valor Dawnblade.
That is a big turn. Still one card in arsenal and a card in hand.
Sure, yeah.
It's
pitched Blue Valor.
I don't know, man.
That's
basically going to be a full hand block is what I'm thinking here.
Sure.
So it looks like he's going with the scales to block 1, and then he'll probably just throw the rest of his hand at it, I assume.
Right. So the good news for Dom, and there isn't that much good news facing this, is that it doesn't have unconditional go again. So twinning doesn't matter unless he also has glint. So unless the 2 cards he has left is twinning and glint, Mike can't get around this, which is like a little bit of a saving grace. Warriors Valor, a card that I actually cut both reds. I keep the blues and yellows. I prefer the unconditional. I like spoils, hit and run, stuff like that.
Yeah, spoils is nice, but the reason that I like Warriors Valor in the Warrior deck is just because it basically forces blocks.
I do keep the yellows and the blues. It's just the reds that I feel like when I draw the reds, I always feel a little bit sad when I use them. They block. I don't have like the perfect follow up, and I can't gain the go again, and I'm just sitting there like kind of wondering where I went wrong, with my four card red hand. And Dom's realizing, so he's just blocking for 6 here with the Razor Fine Center,
which tells me immediately that he has some sort of defense reaction in his hand for sure.
He's holding the mask,
even if he blocks with the mask here, he still definitely has defense reaction because he knows that Mike's buffing this by at least 3, and because there's a Razor in there, it doesn't like block it for enough. So Mike does go ahead, play the stroke. Stroke is probably not going to get over because the reinforce the line comes out of the hand.
Yeah, and that's nice getting it in the hand. It's just an extra plus. Assuming it's all red, it's just your extra +4, and that's just so good into just stopping. Oh, Mike just took 6 or 5 damage, I think, from the last turn, and then he was able to get a mask and a point off the scales. But honestly, I take those. I mean,
Dom's got no armor left basically that he can block with aside from his tunic, which isn't really that helpful.
Sure.
So now Mike can kind of find his way into the driver's seat, assuming that that basically the Dom can't really do much this turn. He does have a card in Arsenal. He was thinking about whether or not he wanted to pitch it to swing the needle, or if he wanted to play it. I would assume that it's a CNC. There you go. Yeah, that's gonna hurt, but at the very least, Mike doesn't have an Arsenal, so if he only wants to block 3 of it, he can. If he doesn't want to block any of it, he also can. But I feel like that's well advised, considering
that's a little
7 life.
Yeah, that's a little risky there with every Kodachi going for game. It might be a little bit risky here. I did see, because of the flying kick before, I figured it was some kind of big red attack. And Ira, it's really, if it's not flying kick, it's probably commanded cocker when you're saving the tunic counter. Otherwise, coming in for 6, I'm looking at probably a 3 block here. I don't see why he really needs to block the full 6, but I don't know what's in his hand, right? He has his armor is still up for this kind of the big swing, making your sword free for the turn. So if he still wants to go for the big play, bolters are still up for go again. So Mike might want to just block for 3, pitch, swing with maybe a buff, arsenal, pass, and then try to catch Dom on an Arsenal, like without an Arsenal card, trying to do damage and then block with the rest of your equipment, and just kind of hope you can swing tempo with a big one. Because 18-7, you need to swing sooner rather than later. Otherwise, you're just gonna get overrun by weapon swings.
For sure. The other issue here is that when he takes damage from the CNC, he's even lower. He's probably going to have to block something, but blocking strips a card from his hand, and the fewer cards that a warrior has in their hand, the less threatening they are.
Oh yeah.
Warrior with a 4-card hand and an arsenal is completely unpredictable. You have no idea what's coming your way. You're probably taking damage that turn. If a warrior has 2 or 3 cards in hand, it's really not that scary. They have to pitch 1 to swing the sword unless they break the courage. And then after that, you can basically play the how many resource do they have, how many cards do they have in their hand game to guess how much damage they're going to be coming in for. And you can kind of weigh the pros and cons of just taking a hit, basically, or how much you need to block with. I was really good at just having 2-card hands where it's a red and a blue, and you basically just pitch Kadachi Needle, play whatever your red card is, keeping tempo up, getting cards out of Mike's hand, because he's going to have to start blocking eventually. He's so low.
Yeah.
And Mike will be in a pretty bad spot at that point. So it looks like he's blocking with twinning, and the remainder of his armor, he'll be taking 1 point of damage here, I suppose, keeping the courage up. But again, Mike's only got that 3-card hand now, so it's going to be just a dry swing for 3, it looks like. So
yeah.
If I'm Dom, I guess I just block 6 here probably and see if he has enough to go way over the top. But even if he does, he's not going to have any resource remaining to be able to swing the sword again. So you essentially just take 3. If he buffs it to 9, for example, you just take 3 damage, kind of laugh it off, and then swing back with your Kadachi Needle plus whatever the red card ends up being. Unless Dom's got a handful of reds here, it's looking like a pretty bad spot for Mike. I'm assuming that Dom's just going to block the whole thing. It'll allow Mike to arsenal, but Mike's going to have to block out the next turn anyway. So
is there like any reason you're not blocking this Dawnblade swing if you're Ira?
Well, honestly, to get the boots. If I were Dom here, I'm either blocking for 6 if my hand isn't very aggressive, or if my hand is aggressive, and I want to just get the boots and make it so that my opponent has a lot less pressure on me, I just take 3 here. Not Dom. Mike has to break the boots to get go again, and then at that point, you just block whatever the second swing is. Or honestly, you could just take it too. If your hand's aggressive enough, you can force cards out of Mike's hand on your next turn. And then at that point, it wouldn't matter. But it looks like he blocked with 2 blues, which I'm guessing means he still has 1 blue in his hand. That would be a very non-aggressive hand, so
might as well block
is understandable. And like I said, like here, Mike's probably thinking, do I buff it and go over by 3 if he does have the 2 cards that pump up the sword in his hand, or do I arsenal here and try and get back some tempo on the following turn? So it looks like he is choosing just to arsenal. It's probably not worth it to play whatever the buff is. And now Dom gets to swing back with the 2-card hand, but a 2-card hand in Ira is very dangerous, so it makes it pretty tough.
I agree. It's just the consistency of the weapon swings are just so. Like honestly, he could have just I know he's not going to break the needle, but even if you break the life for life, that's a good card to have as your last. If your 2-card hand, you can't really ask for much more, honestly. Very looking a bit grim here. I mean, life for life. I mean, if it hits, he's dead. But for example, if it did hit in any other scenario, he does also gain the life from it. So when we're looking at Mike's hands, he obviously has to block, but he has only armor out of the courage. He has got 1 card in arsenal. Life for life's coming out for 4. So can he block with 1 card in courage and still get any tempo back, or is he kind of
at this point? I feel like the 1 life that Dom is going to be gaining from the life for life is so marginal that depending on what your hand is, the play might just be to block with 1 card, take the 1 damage, go down to 1. Dom goes to 19. And then next turn you break your courage and hope that you can basically have a huge turn where you get to break your boots and just go nuts, basically.
One of those,
because otherwise, I don't know. It's going to be unbelievably difficult to claw your way back. Unfortunately, the turns where Mike had his his very aggressive hands and he was able to get pressure, Dom just had defense reaction, both reinforce the lines very early in his deck. It's tough to get through all of that when you're the warrior, and Mike has taken a lot of damage trying to get through it, unfortunately. But
Sure.
it's going to be, if he can claw it back, it's going to be pretty tough. But it looks like the
Mike's
hand has
here.
been thrown on the table for the old concession. And I think that's the right play, the honorable move to go out on, because, again, I don't see how you're winning that one.
No, I agree. I just feel like Dom stopped it early, and that was about it for the matchup.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. Dom was able to fend off all of the early aggression from Mike's hands with a nice little combination of defense reactions and I guess reinforced lines and instant. So he was able to just keep pressure up throughout the game, and that was pretty much it. The one like turn he had off was just a torrent of tempo for 5. But it's still 5 damage with the 3 red cards in his hand, which, Mike took a lot of damage from that. And then he was able to arsenal a Command and Conquer and play that with just a blue in hand, essentially. And it feels
good, man.